Hello, everybody. This is James Diboe, Discovering, dedicated to original peoples as always. And we've got a special guest in, brother straight from Nigeria. He's a blogger, and we're going to chop it up today and speak on a bit of African history, a bit of culture. You know, how you doing, my brother? Tony Duru?
Yeah. How you doing, Mr. Diboe?
I'm good anyway. Peace and blessings, man. You know what I mean?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. We always connect to the original peoples wherever we are on this planet. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
I'm interested to know about it. Well, what's the blogging that you've been dealing with? What sort of
All right.
things?
I started blogging in 2015, and as time went on, I became a father, and I decided to be a father first, and then continue later because
Yeah,
I love my kids so much. I couldn't mix the two together, so I decided to be a father first, and then I paused for a while, and then I started again. And what I actually deal with is like social issues. You know, most of the times when I sit with my friends and we reason together and we talk about history, politics, and whatever. When men sit down and have a drink and all that, things we talk about football and whatever I see that makes a little bit of sense, I try to put on my social media so maybe one or two people can learn. So that's basically what I'm about.
also a couple of different things. Yeah, I like that anyway, because it's good to have a variety, a bit of history, a bit of culture, but it's
Mm.
politics and that, all inclusive. I like that. So
Mhm.
what's your tribe anyway of Nigeria? What tribe are you? I'm an Ijaw, but what tribe yourself?
Okay, I am an Igbo man, 100% Igbo man, but I
Igbo.
was born, yeah, I'm an Igbo man. My parents are from the Igbo land, my dad, my mom, but I was born in the Yoruba side of the country. So I'm a Yoruba man and I'm an Igbo man. I can speak both languages very fluently. And the both sides has been good to me, but I'm an Igbo man with a Yoruba flavor to it.
Yeah, well, even though I'm Ijaw, I'm trying to get into the Yoruba language. I believe that's because it's widely spoken, so, and not even just in Africa. You can go to Haiti, you know,
Yeah.
Cuba, part of other
Yeah.
places and that.
We're all one. We're all one. You know what made everybody go separate ways,
Yeah.
but we're all one, the same thing, same DNA, the same blood, the same flesh, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing anyway. Are you aware of the Bantu people, the Bantu expansion?
Yeah, the Bantu people are one of the like you can say big names in Africa. When the white man first came to Africa,
Yeah,
the people were already established. I think that's like an empire. Sort of the just like they have the Songhai Empire, you have the Bantu people, you have the Yoruba people. So the Bantu people are a very big name in Africa. People to be reckoned with in Africa. Yeah.
definitely a force to be reckoned with. Now,
Yeah.
you hear different things about the Bantu, and for example, some cases they started from eastern Nigeria, the expansion, and then some people deal with it from Central Africa, and then some people believe that we were in ancient Kemet, and then I mean the Yoruba have these creation stories coming from Kemet, or when the Sahara Desert was not a desert, it was green. So there's a lot of migrations, what people don't know about with ancient Africans. Some people think like we just stayed in our little secluded tribal geographical areas where that's never been the case. Another thing is with Yoruba as well. The Yoruba, I think like I'm looking at the Yoruba Empire stretching all the way to Mali. I'm probably even beyond. This is only scratching the surface on it. So with the Igbo tribe anyway, so, because I've got a lot of people, a lot of people's Ebos, and there's a lot of Ebos, isn't he? So, how long have when did you come to the UK? How long have you been in the UK for?
All right. I came to the UK in 2008, January, and I stayed in London for a little while, and then from there I moved to Liverpool, and I've been in Liverpool since then.
Okay. Now, one thing I always get into, I like hearing about different creation stories. And me as a world traveler, also visiting indigenous people, especially indigenous melanated people around the world. And I find that we are the most spiritual people on the planet, wherever you go, melanated peoples, indigenous peoples. So creation stories amongst the Igbo. I mean, I've looked at a couple of myself. Some say Hebrew Israelites. I've seen ones like even my own tribe. I talk about come from ancient Kemet. And like, it's interesting because like we have the scientists, and I don't really trust Western scientists too much, because they want to tell us our own history. Now, I try to use science to make connections, but it's not like we need to go deep into that oral history. So, are you aware of any creation stories from the Igbo tribes that you can remember?
Okay, first of all, let me say this today. I don't know who is listening, but I want anybody who is a black person, or if you have any atom of black blood in you, to understand it right now. See, black people, African people, we were great before the colonizer came. And if you watch the story, they came like friends. And then later, came with guns and everything. You see?
Yeah.
So we Africans have been great. But the only mistake the Africans made was that they were able to make traders out of us.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that with the Chinese. They couldn't do that with every other people, but they could do that with Africans. They were able to buy some people onto their side and became traders and didn't mind if they sell their people out. You understand? Which they later regretted. But that's what it was. So Africans, or let me just say Africa, most of the things that we would have been seeing today that our ancestors did, we were told that they were idols and this and that. So we destroyed all of them. And now we can't look at anything and say, oh, our ancestors were great. Of course, our ancestors were great. Only that what they did in their time, the history was erased.
Yeah.
That's why we are, where we are today. So, and again, if you look at Africa, starting from Egypt, the pyramids, I've seen a few documentaries of people saying, or some white scientists or whatever, saying that it was the aliens that built that. No,
Yeah.
the aliens didn't build it. They couldn't believe that Africans can do something like that. So I want to say today that we've been great, only that our history was disrupted, and that's why it seems like we're nobody today. But little by little, we're grabbing each other and we're grabbing ourselves and we're waking up, so to say. You get what I'm saying?
Like a return back, a call and's coming back.
Yeah, they're little by little. The children are waking up, you understand? So, you were asking the Igbos, their relationship with the Egyptians, and is that what you're trying to ask?
Well, not just only the Igbos. Like, I mean, I'm asking you because would you be the Igbo?
Africa in general.
Yeah, Africa in general, but particularly in Nigeria, I'm talking about because, I mean, I know the Mali, the Dogon speak on a connection with ancient Kemet. I'm aware of even Ramses the Third. He has Bantu DNA connected to Central Africa. And so it's only because we got told that, like, we got told real negative things about, like, because we get everything from a European perspective, and not too many of them are honest to be. So sometimes, I mean, if you want to find the closest to honest of any European scholars, you have to go back to people like the early Greeks, Herodotus, and Homer, and so we have to like look through. Not only that, we are able to unearth history ourselves and that, but we have to like look at like this in the early 1900s where they decided to rewrite history, and it's pretty much writing history all over the planet, So, like as if the Greeks were the fathers of civilization, which that's been proven wrong. We got greats like Sheikh Anta Diop, Dr. Ben Yoshi Ben Yakinen, Dr. John Hendrik Clark, Adam Van Zetten, Roanoke Rashidi. We could go on forever with these names. So thanks to our great scholars who put in the work and have been able to, I'm trying to follow footsteps of our ancestors. And so with the Igbo, I'm interested in the Igbo's actual creation stories. I know about the Yoruba, my own tribe, Ijo, have different stories. Now with the Igbo, what is their creation stories as far as migration to other lands in Africa? or beyond?
Okay. According to the history that I've heard,
Yeah.
when I was growing up in the Yoruba land, the Yorubas used to trace their lineage or ancestry to Saudi Arabia.
Wow. Yeah,
But
I've read a little something about that. Yeah.
that was what we were told in school, and I remember as far back as primary school. But then I finally got to realize that's misinformation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I don't. To me, in my own opinion, I think that's wrong.
I think it's wrong myself, definitely.
Nobody from Africa came from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabians came from Africa, right?
Exactly.
Everybody came from Africa. So
Invaded.
about the Igbos, I have heard. I didn't grow up in Igbo land, and I didn't go to school there. But because my father, familiarized us with where we come from a little age and all that growing up. So I've heard that the Igbo people are trying to trace their own ancestry and lineage to Israel.
Okay, Hebrew Israelites and that. Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I've heard. But to me, I don't know how to put all of that together. I think every other person, the Europeans, the whatever, everybody originated and migrated from Africa.
That's right.
So all them things are misinformation. I think mainly the Igbos are claiming to come from Israel because the Igbos accepted Christianity way back when the European came. And if you, I'm a Catholic. And most Igbos are supposed to be Catholics, but then different denominations of churches came out, and people started going to these Baptist, Anglican, and this and that. But they were Catholic. So I think that's the reason why the Igbos want to trace their ancestry to Israel, while the Yorubas, claim that they're from Saudi Arabia because you have Muslims among Yorubas, and I think they're the most powerful. So the powerful people will always stand on history. So
yes. So two things that what I've just gathered now, because I've read everything that you're saying. I do my research now. The one about Saudi Arabia, that's got to be from a point where the Islamic invasion came into Africa, and eventually it went to West Africa. Obviously, it's coming out of Arabia. You've just stormed through North Africa. You've enslaved East Africans. When they got to the end of where North Africa is, they were able to Islamize certain black folks to get them to go inland and attack, put attacks on. So I can see where that creation story comes from. Now, Christianity, going there, you can see that's where the Hebrew Israelite story comes from. Now, the story that has nothing to do with these religions, I do find ancient Kemet. Now, I've looked into so many different connections now. The Sahara Desert before there was a desert. There would have been plenty of people living there, animals living there. It was lush. So we've got to use our own common sense now. So in the middle of Africa, if you want to call it that, whether it's by Chad or whatever else, there was something I looked at called the Proto-Saharan culture. And I don't know, do you know about the linguistic ties, but you aware of the Mandi language? Mandi. Yeah, kind of like West Africa, and it's connected to Niger Congo, and Niger Congo is connected to Bantu, so they're all connected. So when I'm looking at it shows you now when the desert's drying up, some decide to go north towards Egypt, some decide to go towards whether it was Sudan, some decide to go to Nigeria area, and some decide to go to the Mali area. So this to me is like it's realistic, because people did live there at one time. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's believable. And also, I was looking at one of the oldest boats in Nigeria. It was in Nigeria, the Dafuna canoe, and it was found in northern Nigeria, and it was dated to about 8,500 years ago. So it's showing you that, this is buried under the sand, so you can see how the desert dried. One time we had lakes.
No, go on.
Turn that sound off. Yeah, it just kind of interfering. Yeah, so basically, there's so much evidence of Africans being seafarers. You got how the Africans get to Madagascar, Zanzibar, Cape Verde, all these different places. So that's why I'm like so interested in speaking to our own people though about these things, because we can read books all day, but it's important that I travel and I speak to indigenous peoples to ask them, well, what do you believe? What have you been told? So as far as interference from Abrahamic religions, now, are you aware of the actual, because I know when we're dealing with the Western Christianity coming in, I'm aware of that, but that's only like in the last couple of 100 years, 400 to 500 years. That's what that is. Islam in the last 1400 years. Now, if I go before that now and deal with the Hebrew Israelites, I want to go back before this now, nothing to do with the actual Western Christianity. So we go by Hebrew Israelites now, a time when the Exodus, they call it. Now, there are probably many Exodus. There's the last one I was aware of was the Roman occupation, and many people were fleeing. Some, they say, fled into West Africa, in Ghana, in Nigeria, and different places, Ethiopia. So, do you notice actually, is there any Hebrew Israelites have you noticed in amongst the Igbo tribes that read the Torah?
Say again?
That go by the Torah, not actual King James or nothing like that.
The Igbos before Christianity came.
Yeah, and before
the
Islam.
Igbos,
yeah,
before the Islam didn't come to Igbo land.
No, okay.
Yeah, because if you look at the map of Nigeria, of Africa, Islam came up to the northern Nigeria, and then it stopped because people from the western Nigeria, the Igbos, did not accept Islam at all. So the people, there's a place there's a place in northern Nigeria they call them the Hausas.
Oh yeah.
So in Nigeria, you have the Hausas, you have the Igbos, and you have the Yorubas, right? The Hausas are closer to Niger Republic, which is closer to the desert and to Algeria, Libya, and the whole North Africa.
Yeah.
Come to Sudan and Chad and all that, But the Igbos, the Islam came to the northern Nigeria and they took their jihad to Yoruba land. They were able to conquer some parts of Yoruba land, but they were not able to do that with the Igbos. The Igbos were way too powerful for them, and the Igbos stayed on we stayed on our traditional religion until the white man came, and the rest became history.
Yeah.
So the Igbos has always been traditional, cultural worshippers, and so to say, there has never been anything apart from the traditional. You can they say it's idol worshiping, but it is not. It is our own culture and our own gods that we call and all that. So we can say that's our religion. If you know what I mean. So the Igbos, I've never known or heard in the history of the Igbos that way back they practiced any other thing apart from the traditional religion. And it's just of recent that Christianity came, and a lot of people became so obsessed with religion, and they went to Israel, read the Bible and all that, just got brainwashed, and everybody started believing and doing whatever. But I've never seen any connection with the Igbos and any other religion, Hebrew Israelites and all that until of recent.
Yeah, well, you know what? I heard this thing about a bit religious people say, "Oh, you Africans were worshiping idols and stuff like that." But this is one of the reasons what made me want to research, made me want to travel. If I look at something common amongst indigenous people around the planet, they all believe in a supreme being, and some people just don't get that what it means. They think it means like all these different evil forces or something, but I just recognize it as in the forces of nature. And when I say the force of nature, a very high intelligence I'm talking about. So you've got good and you've got bad in life. And this is what you can't get out of it. It's positive, it's negative. Life is what you make it. And so we have like Oludamari in amongst the Yoruba, and he's the highest of the gods. So if we have the highest, then that's good enough. That's the main creator, So then you will have, and I'm comparing with other places around the world, that's similarities. I even visited the indigenous black folks of Asia, in Southeast Asia, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. They all talk about supreme being, but they also talk about lesser beings. So you speak about this planet is ruled by good and evil. And you choose your side yourself. I'm going to go with more the positive. I'm going to go more the good because I can see it benefits you more. But this planet, unfortunately, is just like, this is the way it is. And we're always going to meet some negative people. We're going to meet good people. We're going to meet bad people in wherever we're going. But unfortunately, people are writing our history. This is the biggest problem, you see. So now in the schools, like when you say you're growing up in school, I'm assuming that it was an English-speaking school because of your generation. Now, when you in these schools where they teach, what about the schools that only teach Nigerian?
Okay. You see, like me now, I schooled in Nigeria. Every of my education was done in Nigeria until I came in here and started doing some other, some other, courses and stuff to be able to fit in and get a job. You know what I'm saying? So in Nigerian schools, some of the teachers teach you in English, right? And the traditional language, which say the Yoruba or the Igbo, they call it vernacular, right? Vernacular, I don't know, it's a kind of a degradation kind of word for your own language. Makes it unvaluable or invaluable. I don't know how to put that, but that kind of elevates the English language over your own language, So they call that the vernacular. As a matter of fact, we get beaten up in school when you can't speak English.
Wow.
So English itself is a course that you have to pass, just like you have to pass mathematics.
Yeah.
But later, our indigenous languages became a course too, but it wasn't taken that serious or made big. So if you check this, the conqueror always writes the history. They rewrite the history the way it suits them.
Yeah.
If you go to China today, a lot of people didn't know this, that China was on the verge of being colonized by the British way back.
Yeah.
But since they couldn't, get make traders out of them, they started to take Hong Kong instead, which they later released back to them.
Yeah.
You understand? So this thing then, but if you check the Chinese today, you see they still have their Mandarin, they still have their calendar. The Chinese that have their own New Year and all that. It is the only Africans who don't have all of that. Even the Arabs, they have their calendar, they call it Hijra and all that. But the Africans were so much, they entered the Africans so much that even we were told that our language is bad.
Yeah.
Our gods, we know God before they came. Everybody knows about the supreme being, just like you said. The Christians say it's Allah who got the message. The Muslim says Allah who got the message. The Christian says Jesus who got the message. That's not my problem. The problem is, did you get the message?
Yeah, it's all one the same thing we're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's a bit different, like, yeah.
African spirituality is a different thing on itself. And I think the day the African man realizes, that his spirituality and brings out the originality in him, I think that's the time we will start getting ourselves, But talking about the language we were used to, we were taught in school or the teachers within school, of course it is the English language. And if you go to Congo, you go to all the French colonized countries as well. they teach them in French as well. So it was an elevated language, and it's very unfortunate that our language seems to be degraded like that. But our languages are beautiful, and I wish we could get more into promoting our own language.
I can definitely see kind of the cycle coming back. You know, the planet's always been about cycles. There's many cycles. Kemet talked about them, sure. Nigeria spoke about them. Dogon spoke about cycles. So it's like basically the European, he's had his day. You can see it's coming to an end. And you can even see what's going on in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. So people are getting fed up, now. What we don't want to make the mistake of is having one colonizer and be replaced by another colonizer. This is what we've got to all understand. So Africa for Africans, and just like China for China, Arabia for Arabia, and whatever else. Now we've took on a lot of religions. Now myself, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I do believe in a creator. Now, if I speak this to most people with Abraham religions, they don't get it. How can you believe in a creator without their religions? Because very simple, the creator that we were talking about existed a lot longer than any of the Abraham religions. It existed before Buddhism, before Hinduism. The first of everything. That's why you hear me saying original peoples a lot. Another thing why you hear me use the term original peoples, because over there in the West, they're stuck on the word black. That's the name given to us. And you could go in the dictionary. So the person who's give you this name, everything is negative with black. So we just automatically, sometimes embedding us, we say the word ourselves, we black people, black power, be proud and that. But at the same time, we try and find names what we call ourselves, for example. So speaking in an English language and trying to find out a name what we call ourselves, because we could go to the Romans, they were saying Moorish to describe black people. The Spanish and then
that's the Moors.
The Moors, they call us Ethiopians, Greeks at one time, meaning like most of Africa, Libyans at times. So now we try and look and well, what did we call ourselves? Now, as an English-speaking person, I'm going to go with the original peoples, because I believe that's something that we've always known, that we are the original peoples. And then when you go around the planet and you see these secluded, different, isolated tribes who have visited, I've visited them in many places in Asia and the Pacific Islands and Australia. Now, all these original peoples, we have a lot in common. Our spirituality might be slightly different because we're in different environments, but we're all in the hot climate. And usually when you're in a hot climate, there's something about the sun. We are the people of the sun. We are the people of the sun.
Yeah, we are melanated people. We are the only people who can survive in the hot sun.
That's it, so our mentality is different than the Iceman. The Iceman is at survive rough conditions. It wasn't
all the time,
lived in the caves where we were building pyramids, and so these are things that they're really ashamed of. So they tried to reverse the history around, like we were the savages and they were the great builders, and that's totally wrong.
Before I forget, let me quickly chip in, the name black and white and all that.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, but I've got to say this. You see, I hate it when it's only that we've only accepted the name black to be able to associate our own race. We've got the name has been into us so much that we think that there's no other way we can say. Like me now, I like to describe my people as say people of African descent.
Yeah.
I like to say that.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to use that word black. Because nobody is white. No one is black.
That's right. Right? Yeah. Because they're kind of pinky looking and
White is like, God is white.
Yeah.
Clean. With no blemish. Nice. Beautiful. Everything white. But if you look at black, you got the black sheep, you got the
Black,
blacklist,
yeah, blackballed, black labeled.
black ball. You know what I'm saying?
Plenty,
So,
plenty. Yeah,
yeah. So it is used. It's a kind of term which we didn't make up. We didn't do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it started from nigger, and then it became negro, and then it became black, you know, and then it became, let's look at Americanized African American, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know how we can change that, you know, name black, stop calling ourselves that. But I don't think it is, you know, it is a word that is used in a funny way, in a kind of racism kind of way to describe
Mm.
us. You know what I'm saying? But it's tough. So I mean that's another discussion for another day. But I wish I could make every black person or every anybody of African descent know that, you know, we need to start calling ourselves that, and look for something else. Maybe the Moors. I started hearing about the Moors about a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Then the Moors are like the people of Northern Africa, because I've seen a whole lot of pictures and videos and drawings of them. You know, they look exactly like black people with Arabic kind of dressing and all that. You know what I'm saying? So
Now, it
I
just
haven't got into that
yeah.
connection yet.
Now with the Moors, this goes back to language again. This is a Latin. This is all Latin, Mauritian. This is given to us again, just like the name Ethiopia is given to us.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm getting fed up with colonizers, and probably we all are. On now, that's why I came with original peoples, and I thought there's no argument to calling ourselves the original peoples, because at the end of the day,
Of course, we are the original people. Everybody knows.
yeah,
What
and
is
in our own creation stories
Darwin?
and everything.
Is
Yeah,
it Darwin? Darwin
yeah.
that said human being originated from apes and monkeys and all that.
I
You
don't believe
know,
that stuff.
proven to be wrong. But you
Yeah,
know, they're wrong things, so they wouldn't want to say, "Oh, one of our greatest scientists was wrong," but it was
yeah,
wrong. It's actually proven to be wrong.
yeah.
Because if people started originated from monkeys, why are there still monkeys in the
Right, exactly.
bush?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly because
yeah.
the evolution theory. It's the problem I have with it. It's too slow. It's too slow. If you deal with like I deal with Bantu philosophy, and I have a person who comes on my show, Tao Haran Ranuba, and another creationist, like where when God existed or as the creator, we existed straight after. It wasn't like this
You know,
big
that
gap.
thing, I don't want to be rude or
Yeah,
say, because it was said that only a fool will say there's no God, right?
yeah,
Um, I don't want to go into saying there's God or there's no God, but you see that thing written in the Bible or
yeah,
wherever written in the scriptures.
yeah,
I want to believe that those are people who just got inspirations from nowhere and started writing things. Like if you sell yourself now, if you advertise yourself, people gonna buy what you're selling.
yeah,
You know, the Israelites, they wrote their story. You know, they wrote it in scriptures and all that, and say God existed and all that. So it was written down, and you know, people bought it.
yeah,
The Africans now, you know, some of the things that our ancestors has written down or done in their own time, it was destroyed. You understand what I'm saying?
mm,
So we don't have anything now to show. But if you go to Israel now, I see some black people go to somewhere and they say, "Oh, this was weird. Lot's wife turned to salt," and they will not touch it and say, "Oh, it tastes like salt." Something that happened about more than 2,000 years ago. Africans going to Mecca as their holy land and going to Europe as holy land and going to Israel as holy land. These places are not holy lands. These people have shed millions of bloods, but you've never ever heard way back before the white man came that there was a war that killed millions of people in Africa. It never happened. They had little tribal wars, and even they take slaves. the slaves were incorporated into the family and become wife. They have children, and everybody becomes the same.
And there's
But
also prisoners of war as well.
yeah, they
Yeah,
were treated well. They were incorporated into the family, the prisoners
yeah.
of war, until the intruder came with the chattel slavery, which is what changed the course of everything. But I want to say that that was then, and that was the business in vogue then, just like oil is in vogue now. But we just want to thank God that that's all ended now, and I hope it never happens again.
Yeah. Now, one other thing as well, like sometimes people look for the documentation. So I always try to look for ancient writing. Are you aware of like ancient Nigerian writing? No, I've seen little scripts. I've seen scripts, what they found and that. But as to me, writing's writing. It doesn't matter if it's a script or the book or it's written in stone. Writing is writing. So
Yeah,
are you aware of the times of Nigerian have
yeah,
their
yeah,
own
yeah,
writing system?
yeah, yeah. There has been a few discovered in not in Lagos, not in all these big cities. In the villages and where people first settled before everybody started moving around
Mm.
to the cities and all that. Yeah, about that. If you can visit a museum or any museum in Nigeria,
Mm.
the one in Lagos, Ibadan, or Abuja, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can visit them, you will see a whole lot of them. And if you go to Benin as well,
Benin. Yeah.
yeah, the Edo people, we call them, they were great sculptures. And even when the Portuguese came and saw what they were doing, they do bronze head and all that. If you go to the museum in London, there was a time that the Benin Kingdom was looted, and all of their bronze and artifacts and all of that were brought to London. They're still there now. They're campaigning for it to be brought back, but it's still ongoing.
They've,
So if
they've
you
got
go
them
to
in.
that,
They've got them in Liverpool as well, in the Liverpool Museum.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
return these bronze. Yeah.
yeah. Those ones are stolen from the Edo Kingdom. They were great sculptures, and the bronze. They were the first people who were known to use bronze to create art.
Yeah. But interesting, these discussions and that. So what we're going to do, we're going to like continue this.
I'll just Okay.
Yeah, very interesting. Some of these topics and that, about like the writing system. We were told that we didn't have no writing, there was no communication, and So, are you aware of like these writing system that you have in Nigeria? Like maybe even it's the Yoruba. You're also saying about the museums we must go to in Ibadan, in Lagos, and other areas in Nigeria. So what can we expect to see if we go to these museums? Will we see a writing system? Will we see some great archaeology?
Yeah, you said before that something about African people is we have been programmed not to value artifacts. You get what I'm saying? There
Yeah,
was a time that people were old artifacts and selling it out.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And then these people put it in their museums. So Africans have, with the little that we had gathered and we put in museums, don't forget about it when it comes to culture. Africans are the richest in culture. Arts and
definitely.
culture. Arts and culture, Africans are very rich in that, especially like I mentioned before, the Yorubas and the Igbos and the Edo people. Everywhere in Africa, they have arts and culture. So with the little that we've been able to gather and put in our museums, I'm sure, there are lots and lots and lots to be discovered there. Those ones that hasn't been destroyed. You know what I'm saying? So talking about the writing methods, you see, Africans got their own thing and their own way going on before it was, we were distracted. You get what I'm saying? So, like in Igbo language now, they have the way of counting Otu, Abo, Ato. In Yoruba, they have Eni, Eji, Eta. In Benin language, they have Opa, Eva, Eha, Ene. All these things were there before.
Yeah.
Then later it was changed to 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I'm saying? So we got our own thing going on. Everything was working for us. Only that there are some things that we didn't need to do that, we had all the resources. We didn't know what to do with them. You understand? We had the timbers, we had the gold, we had the whatever, aluminium and all of that. We didn't know what to do with them until the people who got to the how do I put today, manufacturing time, and then they saw all these resources and that gave them the motivation to want to colonize and take everything. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm.
Africans, we got our own thing going on before they came and distracted us. So if you go to Africa and the museums, you will see a whole lot of writings and all that were done by the ancestors. And I'm sure you will get everything you want in there.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing. It's about going and visiting these places, and like the artifacts that are left, because, like you said, they've sold them, and it's stolen as well from all around the museums, around different places, England and wherever else they've got them. So it's about that. I mean, people are trying to get these returned back. Ben and bronzes, and there's a whole lot of, there's too much. If they returned all the African stuff back, these museums wouldn't even have nothing there. A lot of the stuff is
Yeah, that's
based
for
on
sure. All over Europe, you get
I mean,
African artifacts all over the place. So if they get them all out, well, there'll be nothing.
because with Egypt, they always say, like, they recognize Egypt having the writing system, but they don't want to recognize other parts of Africa. That this is the problem. So for me, like, it's about doing your own research, speaking to African people, but at the same time, we can't just speak to anybody, because some people are caught up in Abrahamic religions where some people have abandoned. When I say not necessarily abandon your culture fully, but abandon your history of the greatness, and as if like we needed like a third party to come in and give us civilization, which is totally untrue. So this is why it's always important to speak to African people when you go into Africa. If you want to go meet the Aboriginal Australians, go and speak to them, and they'll tell you exactly what the history is there, because it's all about Europeans imposing. We also have the Arabs imposing. So because with the Arab world now, for example, now fathers, like, you see what I'm doing here, Black History. You got other people doing Black History and in around the UK, in America. So it's within the West. Now, in those places like Arabia and that, I mean, I can't even imagine like a Pan-Africanist to get too far there. You know what I'm saying? But that's another thing. Like, and
well, in the Arab countries too, they
yeah,
are fighting their own. How do I say? They're trying to find themselves as well. Like if you watch now, there's war all over the Middle East, and many of them are running away and coming here.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
So those ones that come here, some of them get lost in the ways of this side, and some of them, still try to, remember culture and all that. Even most of their children, some of them are lost here, but if you watch people like the Indians and Pakistanis and all that, they still got their culture with them anywhere they go. You get
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So
yeah,
they're still fighting their own as well, while we are fighting our own as well. But you see, either here or there, anything. I don't like to get entangled in what has to do with the in between the Europeans and the Arabs, because I know, there was a war called the Crusade many years ago that
yeah.
brought a kind of division. So I see it
Mm.
as Africans want to get entangled in the Crusade, or some one of the European. There's some one of you on the European side, some one of you on
Mm.
the Arab side. That's why you have this Christian and Islam kind of thing. So I don't get caught up in that because it's on African,
It's
both
on
of them.
African, definitely.
It's
Yeah,
100% on African. You see what I'm saying? So the thing about the Arabs is, if you watch what happened before the Arab Spring, in which the Western world penetrated them, they were able to get some kind of, some regime changes among, that, so if you look at it, you will see that Africans are not only the ones who are having that kind of, what is it, culture misappropriation.
Yeah.
It's also, but they themselves, if you watch them now, they are fighting so hard. That's where you have they're trying to create their own Islamic empires, and so there's all this suicide bombing and all that's going on around that time. It is a way of fighting their war and trying to get themselves off the hook of the West.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying. So it is a gradual process. I think at the end of the day, everybody will wake up and be themselves.
And also, looking back at the ancient Kushites of areas like Ethiopia, near the Sudan area, they brought, these, not the language where you have Bantu, but then you'd have, they call it Afro-Asiatic, which started in Eritrea. But I wouldn't call it Asiatic. I think that's a silly thing, because it didn't start in Asia, it started in Africa.
The Ethiopians, they have a writing called the Amharic.
Yeah, Aramaic, you mean? Or is that? Yeah.
But this has been there for way, way long ago.
Yeah, and they took it into Arabia, and for example, so if you got what they call the Afro-Asiatic in Arabia, these languages are linked to Semitic. So Semitic, when the Kushites went into where Western Asia is, what we call Iraq, Persia, they were there and set up civilization, and then they mixed with these Indo-Europeans. So the offspring were called Semitic. It's like semi-Af. So the Semitic language, like the people who we see now in Arabia, like the light type of Arab type ones, they are considered as Semitic. But now they are, but then you have the people who are called the Jews, who claim they're Semitic, the white Jew. At the end of the day, it's people claim a land, but the funny thing is, the area called Palestine that we knew it, Africans were already in these lands in the beginning, before anybody was mixing. And this is only because I've gone so deep into the history of when Africans ruled other nations, for example. So you could go into places like what we call Israel, and you have the old black race called the Natufians. And science doesn't have no problem with this. And these are connected to the Elamites of Persia. They're connected to other peoples in even parts of Eastern Europe. We have people called the Colchians around the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. And they knew by the culture, circumcision, certain things that were totally connected to the Kushites. And we also have according to some researchers, the Niger-Congo language, which is linked to Bantu, in the areas of Sumer. Sumer, they talk about the civilization 4000 BC. These are all African civilizations, Now in the Bible, it'll mention about Nimrod was a mighty hunter from Cush. And he was in the area of Sumer and stuff like that. So it seems like our people have gone into other lands, and then when they mix with other groups, later on, the offsprings have took the side of these other wild barbarians, and then it seems like they've come back in, took all our culture, and and then sold it back to us in another version. You're getting the Abraham religions coming in. And even going back to ancient Egypt, there was times when Egypt was being invaded by a lot of these outsiders, bringing in their occult religions. And, so this is, if you look at all these different pharaohs, you've got many different pharaohs. You got the first ones who were obviously Africans, then you've got ones later, Semitic, like Hyksos, and later on you've got Persians, you've got Greeks. They all wanted to be pharaohs, so at the end of the day, our story is yet to be told 100% fully. It's still more researching. There's still more digging. People must go to these museums and speak to African people, indigenous peoples, wherever we are. And I believe that, it's this full circle is going to be coming. some people speak on the astrology and say we're going into the age of we're coming out the age of Pisces and going into Aquarius. To me, it's just recognizing different cycles, different events in history, So I'm really happy that you came on today. I mean, like, it was important that we had a few interesting talks. If I can give you one last question before you go, because I know you go for time. Some people over here ask other Black people, well, what we call Afro descendant, who were born here.
It's okay. We can use Black for one.
Yeah. Original peoples anyway. So some say, how come some Nigerians is not as pro-militant as some of the people over in the West, like whether you're in America, whether you're in Europe or any part? Why do you think that is? Like, is it the fact that you're not amongst the European, the way we're amongst the European, and we get to see his wicked ways because we have to live amongst them,
So what you're trying to say is, why are Nigerians not as militant as maybe people from the Caribbean or America or that?
Yeah, like pro-Black internationalists, basically.
Oh, okay. First of all, I would like to give big respect to Marcus Garvey, who started the movement for African freedom, because most African people don't know today that the freedom that they have today was actually not given for free. Some people had to go to war for that. You got people from the most South Africans and East Africans. You have people like Amilcar Cabral, who went to war with the Portuguese and all that, So you have people like Malcolm X, you have people like Martin Luther King, you have Mandela, you have Winnie Mandela, all these people. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are pro-Black people who wanted freedom for their people. So, but if you look at Nigeria, you will see Nigerians are very people who earlier on started going to school in London, in America, as early as the 20s, 30s. Nigerians has been, because Nigeria is a very rich country, and you have the kings, you have the chiefs of then, who were rich enough, who worked closely with the Europeans, who were able to send their kids abroad to school. And those ones came back and they were able to get incorporated with the administration. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And from then, they started using writings and talkings, and so Nigerians didn't get their independence in a violent way. We talked, we wrote, we dialogued, and all that. And that doesn't mean that Nigerians are not pro-Black enough, because we have people like Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who are of blessed memory now, who's the originator of Afrobeat. We know that is everywhere now. A lot of people just think Afrobeat just started. Afrobeat didn't start now. It started a long time ago. And Fela Anikulapo Kuti was the originator, and he was a pro-Black person. As a matter of fact, he had this kind of Black Panther salute and all that. So we call him the Black president. So Nigerians are not the kind of people who believe in getting things in a violent way. Though we are militant, but we prefer to sort things out educationally and dialogue, because we know what you know. So why don't we sit down and talk about it? So that's why you see many Nigerians looks like they're not militant enough. We are militant. It is only we prefer to do it in a non-violent way.
So basically, it's the African nature. It's a good nature, whereas a lot of our peoples over here have picked up a lot of bad habits. We've come away from the original countries and that, and in these countries, we are face to face with the European. We get to, we see the racism from the start, from school, turn on the TV from young, watching racist cartoons, and then later on, watching movies, all racing, we see Roots. And some people get stuck on Roots, you see, where the Like, I remember watching it from young, and it was just so painful. It makes you so angry. But at the same time, when you get older, when I started learning about real history, greatness before the transatlantic slave trade, I started realizing more like this is who we are. But at the same time, I'm lucky for me Nigerian side and my father's side. You know, my mum's side is from the Caribbean. She went through the slave trade, Trinidad. So at the end of the day, and this city, Liverpool, is a different type of city as well, where there's a lot of mixed people. Now, sometimes the mixed people sometimes can have a mixed mind, but I am one of the people. I am like pro-original, pro-African. You know, that's the way I deal with things. I'll be
Your
that.
people are great. Your people are great people. The Ijaw people, they are great people.
Yeah,
They're very rich in culture and every other thing, and they got their women are very beautiful as well. They they have some beautiful dance. Ijaw people, they have a dance they call Ugugiri, and that's why no, there's no how you will go to Ijaw land and you will not get a woman there. You must get married there.
yeah, yeah. Well. Anyway, just the creation story that a lot of my people told. We believed in like because we're the water people, you know.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
the
the
rapid
river
rivers.
people, yeah.
Spoke about all sorts, the water spirits, even
Yeah,
mermaids, and
where the oil comes from, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So at the end of the day, you know, it's about us connecting and having an open minded. You know, that's one thing. Is I'm a deep researcher. I'm a traveler, and I'm a proud African. You know, so at the end of the day, it's been a blessing having this discussion with you. And this is going to be for what they call Black History Month, Original
Yeah,
Peoples Month to me. And at the
yeah,
same time, it's not about running the history for 1 month and then 11 months going quiet. If you watch my shows, we go all year round. We don't stop because the movement don't stop. And at the end of the day,
yeah.
it's been a pleasure, Tony Duru. You know,
It's been a big pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I really want to say this before I go. Um, no matter who you are, as far as you have a little black in you, we are all the same. Together we stand and divided we fall. We need to come together, the mixed race, the Cameroon, the Caribbean, we all need to come together because we know why we are all in different places. And I just hope and wish we will one day come together, all of us, and we'll be great together.
yeah, that's it. Though. Well, thank you very much, Tony Duru. This
Thank
is
you very
James.
much, my brother. Respect, yeah.
Yeah, this
Thank
is
you.
James Diboe, Undiscovered and dedicated to original peoples as always. This is just a special for Original Peoples Month. And it's Original Peoples Month every month to me, you know what I'm saying? And our people, we live this every day, you know. So thank you very much. And we've learned a lot today, you
Thank
know,
you.
excellent dialogue. You know, maybe we'll do this again one time again anyway. But
Sure, anytime, anytime.
all right then. Peace, my brother, anyway. Peace and
Respect,
blessings.
man. Bless.
Salute. Salute,
Thank
man.
you. Thank
Peace.
you. Bye.